thing we have to fear is
in war,
fear itself.
there is no substitute for victory.
Let us never negotiate out of fear.
We stand undivided, forever united, fighting hand in hand for the liberty we've earned, for glory and honor, for our sons and daughters, ever mindful of the lessons we've learned. Let the torch of freedom burn.
You found your way to the intersection of faith and politics. This is WallBuilders Live, and you found us on Friday, so it's Good News Friday. Before we jump into some good news here with David and Tim Barton, be sure and visit our websites at wallbuilders.com and wallbuilderslive.com. Also there at our wallbuilderslive.com website, you can get a list of all of our stations. You can also get the archives of the last few months, so you can get more good news there, and our Foundations of Freedom Thursday programs, and lots of great interviews as well. Check out those radio station listings, and if we're not in your local area and you know of a station you'd love to hear us on, then grab a few of our programs, send them over to that station, and encourage them to pick up WallBuilders Live. I'm Rick Green here with David Barton and Tim Barton, and we're going to get some good news. Guys, who's up first?
Rick, I'm going to take this one, and we're going to go to Florida, and our good friend of the program, Matt Staver with Liberty Counsel, does so much to defend religious liberty on so many levels around the nation. Well, he had a case. There was a high school student in Nassau County, Florida, and this student would read the announcements in the morning, and many schools still have a student that will come and read announcements, and they'll say things. Well, this student who was reading the announcements on a particular morning happened to end the announcement by saying, "God bless America."
Whoa. Now, look out.
If you can
what
imagine
a troublemaker. These kids today.
how bold and offensive that is.
What did he do? Listen to Obama? He repeated Obama? Is that the problem we have here?
The audacity of this young person. Well, as you can imagine, that did not go and was not accepted by the population. What's crazy about this, and we've talked about it many times.
Now, wait a minute. I thought the song God Bless America was considered not the national anthem, but the national hymn. Is that the national hymn? Rick, is that the one that they passed a federal law on?
Man, I don't remember, but it sure is treated by the people as like our second national anthem.
Well, it is. You know, baseball does it in the seventh inning stretch. I mean, baseball, they did the God Bless America at the parks across the country. So
yeah.
I guess if this is going to be a problem for this kid, I guess we need to sue all the Major League Baseball parks as well.
Can you even think of a politician of the last 100 years that didn't end their speeches with God Bless America?
Well, that's why I instantly brought out Obama, because as everybody knows, he's radical, religious right, evangelical, Bible-thumping Christian.
Right.
Well, as we've mentioned before in many of the religious liberty cases, one of the things that so often is proven in the court is you have to have standing to be able to bring this lawsuit. Well, there was a group of atheists who were not part of the school, but just heard this kid had said, "God bless America." So this group of atheists wrote the school and said, "This cannot happen." So the school then reprimanded the young person who led this, well, it wasn't even a prayer, but said this statement, "God bless America." So Matt Staver with Liberty Counsel wrote a letter to the school, said, "You guys have got to be kidding. You can't take away this kid's First Amendment right. What are you thinking?" And so the school then just has recently come out and said, "You know what? We were wrong. We blew it." But the school actually went on in even bolder terms. They said that we think this is something that should be, it should ring in the halls of Congress, in our stadiums, in our arenas, in the halls of our schools, and most importantly, in the hearts of children. So they had a real big 180 on this one.
That was a slap down at the principal, because the principal is the one who stepped in on that.
Now, who was it that made the statement, Tim?
Coming back was the school district, and a press release on the matter from the superintendent is the one that said that.
That's a
great,
slap
man.
down to the principal. That's a big slap, because the principal, and the explanation I saw when that happened, the principal said, you know, this is unacceptable, and went through all the reasons. And so somebody kind of took him and spanked him a little bit, took him out the woodshed.
Well, and this is, again, one of the things we point out so often is we win the majority of these battles where someone will stand up. Kelly Shackelford has said that many times with Liberty Institute, is that every time we find someone that'll stand up, we're winning these cases. And this is another great example where someone could have said, you know what, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody. But they said, no, wait a second, we're not backing down. And because they knew the First Amendment, because they knew their constitutional right, and because they stood up for their religious liberty, yet again, we've won another case. Now, again, it's ridiculous we had to fight the case, but we're winning these cases, so this is really good news.
What is the climate that you're communicating to kids in public school, where that for a kid to say, God Bless America, which is one of the most popular songs in the country, that Major League Baseball does, that every politician, for a kid to recite what is throughout the culture now gets him stepped on in a public school. I mean, that's...
At a time when we're embracing and encouraging the most vile things and unnormal things, all these crazy things in our culture, it's okay for you to be as ridiculous as you want to be, but don't do something, obviously normal and traditional and just make sense. Hey, we want people to be blessed. I mean, what's up is down, what's down is up.
And granted, not every school is like this, but my gosh, what do you get if your kid comes out with a great math degree but loses his soul doing it? Loses any concept of respect for America or love for the country or anything about the military. I mean, this is why we keep calling them government schools, not public schools, because this doesn't represent the public. This represents hardcore indoctrination, and this is not good stuff. That should not have been the first instinct.
And guys, one thing that we have so often, people ask us how they can get involved, what they can do, because they'll hear, especially when we go and speak, they'll hear a speaker, they'll hear a presentation and go, oh my goodness, okay, they're motivated, they're encouraged, they want to go change the world, and we tell them the best thing you can do is start with your local area, whether it be city council or school board.
That's right.
And the reason is because of these kind of moments where we can shape the culture of our school district if we have the right kind of people on the school board. The problem is too often we don't get involved in the process, and this is the result of not being involved because we've kind of stood by. So as we hear this news, we ought to be thinking, you know what, I'm going to get involved in my school board to make sure that never happens in my school district.
Yeah, because let's not forget the practical application of this. That superintendent is chosen by the school board. They're the ones that make that decision.
That's right.
So you want get more superintendents like this guy or girl that took the right stand on this. And the way you get that is citizens running for school board. And we've had people on and talked about situations and examples where one single church in a community takes over a school board simply by getting their 200 or 300 or 400 people out of their church to get involved and run candidates and show up to vote. I mean, these elections, school board elections, are easy to win if you simply get involved and get active.
It's often a 3 to 6% voter turnout for a school board election. And I cannot tell you the number of times that we've seen school boards slap down principals. And, it may be the school board that called the superintendent and said, you got a problem here, fix it. Whatever it was, there was a definite turnaround because I read the tone of the article when the principal talked about why he did what he did. And it's 180-degree tone difference for the superintendent to come out. So it's a major league slap down of the thinking of that principal. And that may well be because school board people got elected who called the superintendent and said, this is not going to happen. And that's what we need.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, guys, quick break. We'll be right back. More good news right here on WallBuilders Live.
This is David Barton with another moment from America's history. In the case Abingdon versus Shemp, the Supreme Court ruled that the Bible could no longer be an independent textbook in public school curriculum. Would our founding fathers have agreed? Benjamin Rush certainly would have disagreed. Benjamin Rush was a signer of the Declaration of Independence, and he was a leading educator of the day. In fact, he was the first founding father to call for free public schools. Benjamin Rush declared, "The great enemy of the salvation of man, in my opinion, never invented a more effective means of extinguishing Christianity from the world than by persuading mankind that it was improper to read the Bible at schools. The Bible should be read in our schools in preference to all other books." In the view of founding father Benjamin Rush, the Bible was the textbook of preference for public schools.
For more information on God's hand in American history, contact WallBuilders at 1-800-8-REBUILD.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome back to WallBuilders Live. Thanks for staying with us. It's Good News Friday. I'm Rick Green here with David Barton and Tim Barton. We're bringing you good news from across the nation. And guys, I don't know how many thousand times I've come back from a segment and said, okay, what's next in good news? Can I throw you for a loop and actually throw out some good news myself?
Oh, wow. Now, wait a minute. That's precedent. I don't know, man.
Circuits are burning throughout the studio. We've fried our system. It's just it's going to be a little different.
A Christian is not supposed to be flexible. I mean, we don't do that. We have liturgies. We have traditions. We do not change things.
All right, never mind. I'm not even asking for permission. Guys, I am so excited about what I saw at the NRB convention. National Religious Broadcasters got to go out there and hang out for a few days. it is so encouraging to see so many good movies and radio programs and just all kinds of great stuff coming out of the Christian community. I just wanted to share that with y'all. I mean, I'm talking, kids are making movies. This movie coming out, Beyond the Mask, a couple of 20-year-olds put this thing together. It's phenomenal. They did a preview show into that. The Kendrick brothers got a new movie coming out this summer, War Room, about prayer, and we got to pre-screen that. Guys, I'm telling you, it's going to turn our nation back to prayer. It was so powerful. Just the solidarity and the unity of all of these pastors and ministries coming together and saying we're going to stand firm on biblical principles. I just wanted to tell you guys, it was encouraging to see leaders from across the country excited about biblical values and standing firm when we're in the face of such an onslaught. So many great speakers, Dennis Rainey and all these guys just standing firm. It was very, very exciting. I thought you guys would be encouraged by that.
Yeah, it is great. And that really kind of segues into what I was going to point out, and that is you're talking about all these Christian ministries coming together. I don't think we mentioned this, but we had the same kind of coming together, about 60 churches and ministries in Fayetteville, Arkansas, where that Fayetteville became another city that passed the sexual orientation, gender identity kind of protection. I call it protection. It's not protection. It's preferentialism. No, it's anti-protection for traditional value folks. So these non-discrimination ordinances is what they're called. And depending on which website you look at, there's anywhere from 170 to about 210 cities that have passed these. And no city has repealed it until Fayetteville. Fayetteville is the third largest city in Arkansas, not a what you would consider a bastion of conservatism, because
no, it's where the university
that's
is.
Right.
So typically,
that's right.
Usually where your major university in a state is, that community is going to be a little more liberal.
Yeah, when you pick a state university town or you pick a state capital town, usually that's the more liberal areas in the state. And yet the pastors came together, got this thing on the ballot, and it was really interesting. I was talking to folks that were traveling up, because when you go into northwest Arkansas and up that area, you're going into Walmartville. I mean, that's where all their vendors are for Walmart and up in that area. And so they were saying that, flying in and out, it was really amazing, because what happened with the city ordinance is it was local churches who stood up to say, wait a minute, that's not who we are, and that's not what our town is, and that's not what we believe here. But to be on the other side, to keep that ordinance, was national organizations like Human Rights Campaign. And these guys were talking about how that there were so many homosexuals flying in from other cities to come work in Fayetteville to keep this ordinance. So it doesn't affect them where they live, but they were flying in from Atlanta and Miami and wherever else. And these guys were telling me about all these loads that were coming into work there. And so you have the local people working in their town, and you have the outsiders working in the town to keep this special preference ordinance going on. And the people rose up and defeated it. And I think the pastor told me, I talked to a couple of weeks ago, he said the turnout was 2.5 times higher than any previous turnout they've had in the city. And so it was massive, because the other guys brought money. Our guys didn't. It was just ministries and churches getting together and telling their people, and hey, you got to vote, and here's what's happening. The city council's gone. So this is purported to be the first repeal of a non-discrimination ordinance anywhere in the country. And it happened in Arkansas. It happened in the third largest town. It happened in a university town. And it happened because these people showed up and got together. And the other side, homosexual side did a good job of getting people out to vote on their side, but it wasn't enough. Our guys got even more out to vote. And so 2.5 times higher than previous elections is what they report. And good news is the first ever repealed in the country is what we're told of this ordinance. And
potentially a model there, a strategy, if you will, for how to do this in other places, hopefully inspire other churches and pastors to do the same thing in their community.
Yeah, these guys have already been contacted by a number of other towns that are large-sized towns in their city or in their state, and they have brought these pastors in and said, show us how to do this. So there's 2 cities I know of right now where that they have brought these pastors in from Fayetteville and said, hey, we want to do the same thing here. Our city council just did this. What do we do to get it all off? And so there may be more good news coming shortly from some other states and other towns, hopefully.
Great stuff. Going to take another quick break. We'll be right back in a moment. More good news here on WallBuilders Live.
This is David Barton with another moment from America's history. Shortly after the American Revolution, America had become the envy of the world. It still remains a wonder of the modern world as 219 years later, America has become the longest ongoing constitutional republic in the history of the world. What was the foundation upon which our founding fathers established this great nation? According to John Adams, the foundation was Christianity. John Adams declared, "The general principles on which the fathers achieved independence were the general principles of Christianity. Now I will avow that I then believed, and now believe, that those general principles of Christianity are as eternal and immutable as the existence and attributes of God." According to founding father John Adams, it was the principles of Christianity which formed the foundation for American government.
For more information on God's hand in American history, contact WallBuilders at 1-800-8-REBUILD.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on WallBuilders Live. More good news coming at you here. I'm Rick Green with David Barton and Tim Barton. Guys, one thing I forgot to mention from NRB, new radio show is going to start soon. Eric Metaxas is going to have his own 2-hour show every day, a friend that we had on recently. So that's an encouraging note as well.
Yeah, there's another worldview guy who is really sharp, and that will be really good to have him on in that kind of program. I hadn't heard that. That's great to hear.
Well, it was fun to see. He spoke several times and interviewed other guys, and it was just neat to see these leaders that are not afraid to stand for what's right, just standing firm. I was just very encouraged. Okay, what's next on our good news list, guys?
Rick, we have a survey, and this is a survey about religion, and the question was, would religion make America a better place?
Oh, I wish we had some religion in America.
and of course, my first thought is, what do you mean by religion? Because that really is all the difference. But
right, do you mean the Pharisees or do you mean the principles?
Well, so the way that this was interpreted apparently by the American people, 53% of American adults said America would be a better place if most people attended religious service on a regular basis. Only 7% of people thought the country would be worse off.
Now, wait a minute. What was for? It was 53%?
53% said America would be better off if
so
people attended. So
7.5 times greater, 750% greater margin than the 7%. 7% versus 53%, that's 7.5 times. Wow.
And do you guys think what they're saying by that is that if you're attending service, you're learning some ideas of right and wrong, so you're going to be a better citizen, so the country's going to be better?
Well, and that's exactly what I took it to mean also, where they're saying if we could just get these principles in people, and you would imagine the 53% is also people that generally have had some kind of church background or faith background where they've had an experience and said...
But, it can't be just that, because I think right now church attendance is only at around 30-something%.
Well, but this is why I say have a background of. It doesn't mean they're currently attending, but they might think, you know what, my parents made me go as a kid.
Yeah, I saw somebody go to church once.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I, my grandparents were great people and they never missed. I think church could make you a better person. So there's at least that persona. Now, it was also interesting.
But I love the fact that only 7% think religion will make America a worse place.
That's right.
That more religion. Only 7%. They must be the 7% that has the national media. That they must be the guys at that level.
Well,
wow.
There's a lot of things you can say in that direction. I did think it was interesting that 30% said that religious attendance would have no impact on society, which also
they're
tells
the ones
you,
that are going to church right now.
I would say that also tells you about people. Really the view of the impact of church, that if you go, well, it doesn't really make any difference. And that's where...
They've had too much experience with churches like that.
Well, right. And as we started this,
yeah.
I said it depends on what you mean by religion or religious experience or attending religious service, because too often attending religious service gives you no meat of the word, doesn't teach you how to live, doesn't help you change your life and live differently. But 53% nonetheless said, hey, this is a great thing. More people need to go to church.
Good stuff, guys. That's what we're always talking about is how to turn the culture around. So you're telling me that most of the American people actually get the formula. They understand what George Washington said, that religion and morality are indispensable supports. So let's encourage folks to do it. Whatever your particular denomination faith is, go get those concepts of right and wrong and start implementing them. Like you said, action steps. Our pastors need to know that as well, right? That if you're going to get those people in those seats on Sunday, make sure you're giving them something they can use throughout the week.
Yeah, that's right. They give them something that will turn the country around, because that's what they're looking for.
One more break, guys. We'll be back with more good news. Stay with us here on WallBuilders Live. Have you noticed the vacuum of leadership in America? We're looking around for leaders of principle to step up, and too often, no one is there. God is raising up a generation of young leaders with a passion for impacting the world around them. They're crying out for the mentorship and leadership training they need. Patriot Academy was created to meet that need. Patriot Academy graduates now serve in state capitals around America, in the halls of Congress, in business, in the film industry, in the pulpit, and every area of the culture. They're leading effectively and impacting the world around them. Patriot Academy is now expanding across the nation, and now's your chance to experience this life-changing week that trains champions to change the world. Visit patriotacademy.com for dates and locations. Our core program is still for young leaders 16 to 25 years old, but we also now have a citizen track for adults. So visit the website today to learn more. Help us fill the void of leadership in America. Join us in training champions to change the world at patriotacademy.com.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome back to WallBuilders Live. Thanks for staying with us on this Friday, sharing some good news with you from across the nation. David Barton, Tim Barton, give us some more good news.
Going to New Jersey. Now, Tim opened the program talking about a kid down in Florida who finished announcements and said, God bless America. And that's just standing up. You know, took a beating from his principal, but got exonerated. Well, here we've got one where the American Humanist Association, and they are secularist, they decided, you know, we don't like this Pledge of Allegiance stuff. And so they went after a school district in New Jersey. And what I find interesting about this is it's not the school district who took on the American Humanist Association. It was a girl in school, Samantha Jones, stepped up and said, whoa, you're not doing that. I'll step in to fight that. And so the student from the school stepped in by herself to fight the American Humanist Association, and guess what? She won. So the American Humanist Association gets slapped down. This is the second case they brought trying to whack under God and the pledge. And I love the fact that it wasn't the adults doing this. It was a girl who said, I'm a student in school. I want the pledge. I want to be part of this. And she stepped up, and which is, you know, it's really good. As she said, ever since I was little, I've recited the Pledge of Allegiance because it sums up the values that make our country great. The phrase, under God, protects all Americans, including atheists, because it reminds the government that it can't take away basic human rights because it didn't create them. Now,
what a great answer.
There's your answer from a student, and I saw she was a junior in high school.
Yeah, I was curious about her age.
Yeah, she's a high school student, and I think I saw somewhere else she's a junior. But, you know, she stepped up and said, I'm standing up for all the kids on this, including atheist kids on this, and I love it. And so the courts went with her, but kudos to her for standing up and showing backbone.
Well, it's also impressive. We've mentioned several times that it's not enough just to have the right notion of something. You need to know why you believe what you believe. And the fact that she's able to come out with such a compelling answer of this is why we need it.
That's it.
That's so impressive that you have a high school student who not just believes the right notion, but knows exactly why. That's encouraging.
Well, she was more articulate than the attorneys for the American Humanist Association, apparently, because the courts went with her and not the other side, which is good. I've got one more for you here, and this one comes out of Texas. And it's where Texas court really did a good thing here. And it's because you get into all these communities, housing communities that have deed restrictions. And they say, you know, if you're going to be part of our community, there's certain things you can't do in your home, and there's certain things you can't do at your house, etc. And that's always bothered me that people put restrictions on constitutional rights just because of the area in which they live. And I didn't ever think you could do that. And here you had a Jewish group that they simply having Jewish service at their home, and that was challenged. And the community said, no, we got deed restrictions, and this Orthodox Jewish congregation can't meet in a private home. And the Texas court said, yeah, they can. Deed restrictions don't trump the Constitution. Basic constitutional rights trump everything else. And so this is really good news that you're having a recognition that even when you make a social compact, that social compact rights do not trump constitutional rights. And even if you have an agreement where you say, here's what we're going to do in our community, that doesn't mean that you throw away your constitutional rights when you do that. And so kudos to this religious Orthodox Jewish community for standing up and fighting. And kudos to the Texas court for getting the priorities right on this, that inalienable rights trump every other right.
Good stuff. Tim, we got time for one more?
We'll squeeze a quick last one in. with all the presidential stuff that even right now people are talking about, and the GOP and who's going to run and all the things that's going on, one of the questions that's made the forefront of news recently has been this evolution question. Where do you stand on evolution? Do you believe God created? Did God create everything in the last 10,000 years? No help of evolution. Did God use evolution to assist in creation, or did we come about as a product of evolution? Interestingly, 73% of Americans said they believe God has guided the creation of human beings, whether it be God created initially up front with no help of evolution, or God used the evolutionary process. 73% believe that God has been a part of creation.
So they're not secular in their view of evolution. They don't have a secular view of evolution.
That's
wow.
right. Now, however, the breakdown goes even further, that 42% said God did it by himself, did not need any help. So the largest majority of any one of these sections was people that said God did it all by himself.
How many believed that there was no God?
Only 19% believed that God played no part in
so 3.5
evolution.
times more believe that. Wow.
So it is good news that the majority of people are still recognizing, with how many years we've been slammed with evolution, people are still going, wait a second, no, God's the main thing going on here.
They only asked Republican candidates that question. They
That's
never
right.
asked the others. And so the answer needs to be, hey, look, I'm right where 73% of Americans are. Are you in the media part of the 19%? I'm mainstream. I'm the mainstream guy here. And so put the media on the defensive and throw it right back in their face. But that's great news. 3.5 times more think God was involved and that it was a secular process.
Great stuff, guys. Thank y'all for sharing so much good news with us. Folks, you can get more of it at wallbuilderslive.com. Thank you for listening to Wall Builders Live.
We stand undivided.